Me again. Make sure I keep covering up that camera as much as possible. All right, I'm in a better position now. Sitting here chilling down at these wetlands. Beautiful day out here. Another topic. Like there's a bucket list, right? But some things like you're just gonna like jump ahead. Sometimes maybe based off of something else you saw on the internet, YouTube, whatever. And this one's been kind of sticking in my craw, if you will. Bruce Lee, the GOAT of fighting and of fight science, in my opinion. Why am I bringing it up? I still run across like bullshit, and I'm a huge fight guy, whether it's real or fake. So fight choreography, you know, like Obi-Wan versus Maul, you name it, to modern day UFC, MMA. This topic comes up from time to time, and I'm gonna throw my hat into the rink, so to speak. What is that, like hockey terminology? I don't know. Let's roll with it. But it's a topic I've been wanting to bring up for a minute now. And it seems this cat's credibility has completely been toasted, annihilated over the decades. I mean, we're talking about a guy that died a few years before I was even born. Legends, you know, you fade away over time. And his will too. I'm kind of watching like Michael Jordan go through the same bullshit, even though he's still alive and kicking it. With this whole LeBron and this modern basketball era bullshit, you know. But I gotta cover this one because there's tons of stuff to cover here. First off, a lot of the people that get paid professionally to commentate and make comments on these fights and whatnot, they just haven't done their homework. Especially if you work under a guy like Dana White of the UFC, who, you know, years back, he did some kind of deal with Shannon Lee, with like the Bruce Lee franchise. He's a huge Bruce Lee fan, and he's the one that admitted, and or insisted, whatever you want to call it, that, you know, Bruce was the forefather of MMA. And I can see why, through his eyes, why he would think. But I see things differently. I agree with him, okay? But here's the thing. I didn't just watch the movies and fall in love with them like all other Bruce Lee fans, okay? That whole Jeet Kune Do thing and the evolution of that impressed the hell out of me and inspired me. And today, practitioners of that, it's like the most graceful, beautiful, devastatingly awesome techniques to behold. Okay, we're talking the art of interception. You're not countering your opponent. You're kind of beating him to the punch, you know, with like stop hits, stop kicks. John Jones did a little bit of that against Rashad Evans back in the day. Had him up against the fence. And it's subtle, but it was there where he was trapping his arm and then hitting him with the elbow. Okay, that's like Wing Chun stop hit stuff, all right? You have the stop kicks that John Jones will do. They call them oblique kicks or push kicks or whatnot. But they're all leg obstruction attacks, not designed necessarily to hurt you, but it's like a jab to your lower body, your lower extremities, keep you at bay and keep you thinking. Call it what you want, oblique kicks or whatever, push kicks, fine, it's the same thing. And I'm not even mad if you're not going to give Lee credit for basically creating those kicks, or at least bringing those to the forefront and perfecting them, which he did tons of stuff. To say this cat wasn't legit is preposterous to me. Here's why I tend to know differently, okay? The dude died, and he left volumes of notes and stuff he was working on, writing on in his library. And his library, all the walls were covered in shelves full of books that was either philosophy type books or how do I fight and get better? From boxing to karate, that's all it was with that guy. And he was obsessed with it. He's small, I get that. But pound for pound, geez. So why do I think I know more than all these other knowledgeable fight scientists out there? Well, I don't necessarily know more than you guys. You know, if you have anything credible to say, I'm going to listen to you and probably learn from you. I'm not a fighter. I just have always loved it. You know, I wouldn't mind trying it out someday, though. Okay? But here's the thing. Linda Lee Caldwell, his widow, brought somebody in to like get all of his notes and compile them and basically put them in book formats. Hundreds of pages, several volumes, from philosophy to fighting to what he ate. Okay? It was all there. I bought them all and I read them all. I read Jeet compiled by John Little. I read The Tao Jeet Kune by Bruce Lee. Okay? A couple of Bruce Lee's philosophy books that he wrote. You know, he's got Taoism mixed in there, and I didn't really know a lot about that back then, but I found out because I read it. And there's a couple other ones that are a little more specific. God, I'm starting to get chewed up by bugs out here. But I had like one entire shelf, or, you know, full of nothing but Bruce Lee stuff. I even had a couple copies of Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee's magazine, you know, and all the articles in there, people writing in and all that. Had a couple of those too. And it's so absorbing. People just flat out say it's all crap, he couldn't fight. Like, I'm not going to sit here and argue that he would be the greatest fighter or whatever. I think he was. Everybody can lose, okay? For various reasons, and I'm not going to go into those or whatever. But to say that guy couldn't fight, you need to study up a little bit, because the guy did come from Hong Kong, and he actually shot video of fights on rooftops with knives and chains. He's all scarred up from that stuff before he even got to America. You hear rumors like he's a bully. I don't care. It means he was in that shit, okay? Even if you wouldn't call him a good martial artist, he's still fighting. And that's another thing we need to clear up. Just because you don't know how to fight doesn't mean you ain't gonna do that. Doesn't mean you weren't born with that eye of the tiger like we all are. We're all gonna go throw down if it comes to it for whatever reason. And hopefully that goes down within the law. No vigilante stuff going on here or whatever. Sanction whatever you want to do. Get in the ring. Get in the octagon. He was a true steward of the game. He would study Muhammad Ali. And this is one of the kind of the shortcomings that somebody like me, I deserve to critique him. Not you bitches that don't know anything. Just think he's some old, young, you know, old, small Asian guy that was just an actor. Okay? He studied Muhammad Ali. Cassius Clay, whatever you want to call him back then, and he would kind of he would play the videos in reverse because Bruce Lee was southpaw. Well, that was like a thing where it probably hadn't clicked with him yet or whatever, that you want to mirror that, you know, orthodox, and be able to switch back and forth. A lot of fighters today do that, and it's just what you need to be doing, because if you're just locked into one thing, one stance, your opponent can figure that out. I'm not saying they're going to, but don't put that option on the table. Switch it around. They're kind of like feints in a way, you know, hip feints, upper body feints. Okay, switching stances is a feint, in my opinion. All right. He had a lot of science to back him with a lot of stuff. I mean, just in boxing alone, or, striking punches, he would posit stuff like, he would be like, okay, so you can block an attack, you can parry an attack, you can slip the attack, which is the best one, right? And if you don't want to get hit at all, obviously it's slipping, but slipping is kind of a core thing. It can burn you out if you do too much of that. But he's the one that was breaking all that down, and that was back in the 60s. He checked out in 73, I believe, like a couple weeks before his baby was born, on the big screen in Enter the Dragon. Still the GOAT martial arts movie of all time. And here's something for you Lee haters. Still go watch that, even if you don't like Lee. There's other great actors in there that have big time moments in that, where Lee's not even in the scene. So they all get theirs, okay? So pretty big name actors and actresses from the 70s were in that. And you could tell us from the 70s, but the quality of that movie and how awesome it is, like, if you love martial arts, you're gonna like that, okay? If you're a fan of like crappy fake kung fu stuff, which Lee originally started with, and he's like, nah, that shit ain't working, bro. It ain't for you. Because I've seen lists on YouTube of people like who appreciate martial art films just neglect Lee. It's like, he still has the best fight scenes today. Game of Death, Enter the Dragon, Return of the Dragon, or Way of the Dragon with Chuck Norris. His earlier scenes were like, man, you could see the evolution there, but those were still gnarly too. Those are still dope, You hear all the legends about Ip Man. Get serious, dude. There's no way that guy would have hung with Lee. Lee was a phenom. Too big for his britches, needs something else, all right? If you watch Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, his dad's trying to get him out of there because he's a handful. He's constantly getting in fights and stuff. And in the movie, he's got like a demon coming after him, which is bullshit. But that movie was sick. And if you're going to embellish something, that demon stuff was pretty sick, especially the showdown where Lee fought him to save his kid. That brought like chills up and down my spine. Not factual. And the way he got his back hurt and that's not what happened either. He hurt himself fucking around with weights. He was kind of a pioneer with the weights. He even worked on machines to like strengthen his fingers for like finger jabs. He was just intense across the board, and he wanted everything perfect. He was a director, producer, fight choreographer. Ain't nobody gonna take that from him. That's what it is. And I appreciate him for that. Guys like him and MJ, like, it's like you have to grab this younger generation and forcibly sit them down in front of a fucking monitor and be like, there, he ain't so bad after all, is he? What was I just scrolling across? Like some LeBron fan watched a Larry Bird mixtape and he's like, I don't know, man, I don't know. Yeah, no shit. Not until you watch it, right? And now your opinion changes. Bird bumped LeBron out of my top 5. Bird's back in. LeBron's down the road, which is where the Lakers are going to be at here in a few days. Luka, man, you really got hosed in that trade because you could have went back to the fucking finals. Anyways, Bruce Lee, man. Not going to tell you the whole history of him. He came from Hong Kong, hooked up with Linda Caldwell. He went to school in Seattle. He opened up dojos in Seattle and Oakland, California. Kind of spread himself too thin. Had his friends running shop while he's making movies or whatever. And he's kind of getting his ass kicked with the movie industry over here and the racism and stuff going on back then. So he went back to Asia, Hong Kong, to make his movies. Brought Chuck over, who was turning into a pretty good friend. And there's you're a legend when nobody can tell fact from fiction, conspiracy theories and all that, because, you know, there's a guy out there named Beardy, and God bless you, dude. I know you're a huge fan, and you bring a lot of stuff like I haven't seen, but you embellish a lot of stuff. Like the karate tournament and all of that. All right. He did go up against Chuck, and thank you for bringing that to my attention. I saw that. That was pretty dope. And all that entails, but we don't need you overhyping somebody that's already done that for themselves in such a limited time. What was he, 32 when he died? He was the first cat ever that I know of to don sparring gear and go at it with the students. There's no other way to really develop. You gotta spar. And if you look at the beginning of Enter the Dragon, which was released in 73, the beginning of that, what's he wearing? Gloves with the fingers poking through for grappling. Lee doesn't know anything about grappling. At the beginning he didn't, but once you get served up and put on your back and humiliated, you're gonna learn that real quick. Judo, Jean LaBelle type of stuff, okay? Green Hornet. You know, I've seen all the tales. I've heard all the stories, and I heard LaBelle talk about how he's a stuntman on there, and Lee was getting pissed off or whatever, and LaBelle's like playing it cool, you know, and shit talking, and Lee came at him, and LaBelle picked him up and started running around the room with him, and Bruce is saying, "You better put me down or I'll kill you," and LaBelle's like, "Well, I can't put you down then, Bruce. You'll kill me." I don't like that story with Lee, but I'm going to take his word for it, okay? Because he helped Lee develop and get better in grappling, judo, jits, okay? So you could see that evolution, because the Green Horn was a minute ago versus Enter the Dragon, okay? I'm not saying Lee was like the shit on the ground, okay? There just wasn't enough information back then. Outside of like Olympic, you know, pre-World War II versus post-World War II stuff like Aikido, like the brutality of that getting watered down and whatnot. He was a true pioneer. He was a true student in the game that wanted to learn and get better. Cocky, very cocky. Maybe even arrogant, maybe even distasteful, but I don't care. If you build yourself up right like that, and you can back up an overwhelming majority of what you say and do, fuck it, do what you want, man. But Rachel Zegler, nah, you ain't earned that anywhere, anytime. And your movie's still losing to the re-release of Revenge of the Sith as we speak over this last weekend. It made more money than your fucking movie. You narcissistic pig. Can't believe Spielberg ever took you under his wing. And look what you turned into. Jeez. You gotta earn your cockiness, man. As distasteful as it might be and turn off people, you can earn that. You can earn your arrogancy. I'm not sure if like sheer narcissism is ever earned or deserved or wanted by you or anybody else. You can tell me to go to hell, not look at this video, thumbs down, whatever. But I'm just kind of curious to you Lee haters, when if you're true, you know, if you love fights, if you love fighters, there's a ton of them out there that give Lee unbelievable credit. I'm one of the guys that look at those movies and I see the things he did back then, and it still blows me away. I'm convinced. And he was a perfectionist. If you didn't get that shit right, like you're all gonna suffer, you know? Even the, assisting to handle a venomous snake when you probably really didn't need to, and he gets bit and rushes to the hospital, that comes back and finishes the movie. How many legends, true legends of somebody like that do you know of? Elvis is right up there, MJ is right up there. Hell, even another MJ, Michael Jackson, And there's a grip. Don't get me wrong on that, but he's unbelievably deserving to be that legend that's still shining bright. I saw where they erected, what was it, a bronze statue of Lee, in Shanghai. That shit was sick. It blew away the fucking Kobe ones they did out in front of the Staples Center. What the hell happened there, man? Kobe, man, jeez, you must be rolling around in your grave over that shit. They did you like that, homie. How? I know I'm getting sidetracked here, but why not make a statue where he's grabbing his shirt and pulling it over after he hit with that elbow jumper against the Suns the last second? God, that shit was so fucking sick. You couldn't do that? Whatever, man. Anyways, back to Lee. His statues are shit. Okay. Guys like that are gonna live on forever, and he is gonna stay young forever. 32. Can't hate on that. All that he accomplished in that short amount of time. And he can't fight. That's the one that's really pissing me off. He didn't know how to fight. Okay. Now, the one that really pisses me off, this is kind of older now, but Quentin Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Dog, you fucked up big time there. There's some things you do not touch. You went on Joe Rogan to double down on it. I'll do whatever the fuck I want. Of course. And I love you for that. It's like John Carpenter. All your movies are thumbs up. Or, middle fingers up. This finger, that's what I'm trying to say. The fuck you, go kiss my motherfucking ass finger. But you made a big time blunder with a lot of your fans, including me. And man, good luck getting them back. So what am I talking about? You did the Bruce Lee scene in there with Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt, who can't fight at all. Why did you bring him in for any fight choreography? For something like that. I know he's supposed to be a stump doddle, and I know who you based him off of. Judo Gene LaBelle. You got the same stories as me. But you went way too far with him. Thinking that Lee was just some kind of absolute fucking little pussy fake pushover. If that was the case, LaBelle wouldn't have taken him under his wing. Been like, I'll collect the check on this stuntman job and move on. Gotta love LaBelle, man. Got into it with Lee and Steven Seagal. Probably a lot of others, right? Fucking gorilla monster guy, rip you fucking in half. You want to learn from somebody like that. You want to learn from Chuck Norris and his kicks. Because originally Lee and his Jeet Kune Do principles was keep your kicks lower in that realm and keep, your hands up high. And Chuck's like, you need to be able to kick everywhere. Well, how are you going to argue against that? You don't. Okay, you learn from it and you move on and get better and stronger. Chuck will tell you that. All of these guys will. Now, do you not respect Chuck? Because that's fine if you do or whatever. But that's another legend, And listen to him while you can, because cats like that just ain't going to be around much longer. It's as simple as that. Listen to guys like, well, I guess you can't anymore. Some of them have checked out, That is the way it goes down, right? He brought in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Game of Death. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. It's sick. Those are some of the most graceful fight scenes ever. And he's like in a league all of his own with the fight choreography in movies. Nobody's fucking with that. There are a few that I appreciate, okay? We'll get to those guys in other videos. True action heroes, men with balls, muscles, kick your fucking ass. Talk some shit while they do it, Even the women martial artists back in that day fucking light up today's fucking pussy men. Serve them up. But whether you agree with like all the stories, you know, or not, he's got them. He's the one that earned those. Lee couldn't fight. That's preposterous, man. Go read like a lick of what that guy said, and you're like, oh, okay. Now you might move the goalpost and be like, shit wouldn't work today. He's too small, blah, blah, blah. Well, those are different arguments. He was constantly getting challenged. He was constantly challenging people and bullying other teachers that were trying to tell him that he couldn't teach what the fuck he wanted to. Those were real encounters. I wish he would have lived long enough, like guys like Chuck and all these other guys that are getting up there, his friends or whatnot, just to see how he would have evolved and grown, what he would have thought of today's mixed martial arts, combat sports, boxing, you name it, Thai boxing, karate. They're all relevant in today's fight game. You just got to incorporate those into your fight database as a fighter and get in there and perform those. A lot of people don't believe that you can use fancy moves or unknown moves. Yeah, you can. And when you do, and you practice it enough, you catch motherfuckers off guard that talk shit and say otherwise. Next thing you know, they're stunned by it. Lee could fight, get over it. Was he the grandmaster that I say he is? Maybe not to you guys. But to say he couldn't fight is fucking preposterous. And the portrayal of him, or betrayal of him, in Tarantino's movie, that was pathetic. Now, when Lee kind of came out on set in that movie, the way he was talking, I didn't necessarily have a problem with the way he was talking there about Cassius Clay and all that. But, you know, Brad Pitt's character sitting over there just disagreeing with everything. Well, what are you disagreeing with over there, shaking your head for? Because Tarantino said, like, if I want my made-up guy who fought in the Philippines to fight Bruce Lee, I'm going to tell you he's going to fuck him up because he fought in the Philippines. No, he isn't. He might fuck him up if you point a bayonet at him or throw a grenade, you fucking idiot. That's where I'm at with you over this shit. You fucked up, dude. But in unarmed combat, you think he's just... Look, the Army to this day and the Marines to this day don't have enough time to train all of their fucking G's eyes up to be awesome fighters, hand-to-hand fighters. The opportunity almost never fucking arises, and it never did, really. Not in recent... The only time, like, recently would be fucking, the Japanese theater of World War II, where our GIs are on the beach, you know, digging in their foxholes, and the Japanese would come at nighttime with their katanas. But even that ain't... it's not real... I guess you could call it hand-to-hand because that fits in the realm of martial arts. Like, I would say, like, a bayonet versus a katana is pretty sick. Okay? But why do you think like a grizzled combat veteran that we're all gonna respect, okay? Even enemies of that combat veteran are gonna respect them because there's camaraderie in war that a lot of people just don't understand, that transcends good guys versus bad guys. If you want to say, like, this guy is so much bigger or what, but that's not how you portrayed him there in that scene. That scene was dumb, okay? What? Then you wrote it where Lee came up with some bullshit rules to square off against Brad Pitt's character, like, no punching in the face. Well, why not? You had to fuck them up. So it's a knockdown thing, right? So he has Lee do this exaggerated wah-wah stuff. Well, he didn't do that in the movies like that. He's in the middle of the fights with these guys, mocking them. Rarely did he start off that way, if ever. And what's with the distance between the two at the beginning of that contest? It was like 20 feet of distance. That's not how any type of sport happens, really. Not in combat sports, not in a friendly contest to knock somebody down. Getting the running start for the jump kick, yeah, I get that, I see that. But he didn't have to do that in the movies, did he? The real Bruce Lee. It was take off, kick your face. So he knocks Brad Pitt's character down. Well, that's real nice, Bruce, but I'd like to see that do that again. What kind of writing is that? Do that again. It's your turn to knock him down. Go do it. And you would think Lee would be like, no, let's see what you got. I just knocked your ass down. Instead, he's gonna fucking go right into whatever dumb shit this Brad Pitt character wants, grabs him, throws him into a fucking car. And boy, man, Lee's up and he's hopping mad now. He's really gonna get you, you know? And they're just painting him to be this fucking piece of shit. So what do? They start like, it was like the worst fucking Kung Fu Wing Chun fight choreography I ever seen because Brad Pitt can't do shit. And I used to like his movies, you know? Same with Caprio, but they're all fucking prima donna bitches, man. You can't fight. You don't know how to do any of that shit. And you still took the role knowing that you're going to take a hit. Both you guys, all you actors, the directors, anybody involved with this shit in the portrayal of Lee. There's right around 9 billion people on this motherfucker right now. How many did you piss off? I loved all of your movies, all of them. And hell, even that one was dope here and there, you know? But whew, it's like you sabotage yourself with laying like mines and creating a minefield for yourself. And then when the shit hits the fan, when Lee's blood relative, his daughter, doesn't like what the fuck he said, you know, it's like eat a dick or some shit like that. And you got Joe Rogan. I don't mind Joe, okay? He is a fucking moron that doesn't understand anything, okay? But he has an adventurous spirit. Always probing, always trying to learn stuff, all right? That was an epic blunder. I was talking about George, Romero with Night of the Living Dead, and like I think they failed to copyright that movie, so it became public domain or whatever. It's like a blunder, like on that level, okay? And I love both of these directors, Romero and Tarantino. And just because he fucked up with Lee doesn't mean I'm going to turn around and look at his goddamn movies in a different way. And that's something else I want to bring up right now in this world with like everybody hates each other. That's the way it's going to be. If you can't look at somebody that you don't like, their ideology or whatever, and you can't see past that to see dope shit they did, if that's going to taint your shit, fuck, man, you're fucked. I went down that path a little bit. I'm not doing it. But I am skeptical moving forward with somebody like him and his portrayal of somebody like that. What the fuck else are you going to do? What else is on your mind? Bruce Lee was a fan of Muhammad Ali. Not a goddamn hater, okay? And I'm not saying he necessarily was hating him there, but when it came up to like what would happen if you fought, I would cripple him. I don't think he said that. I think like, I'm sure he was asked that question, and I'm sure vice versa or whatever, and I'm sure they both thought they could beat each other, but you're gonna cripple him? And is that really gonna set you off, you fake Judo Gene LaBelle motherfucker Brad Pitt character? Well, sounds like a bunch of bullshit. I mean, you can't fight. There's like an unfathomable amount of people that'll say otherwise. Up to and including Dana White himself. So, he could fight. And if you would have put him what he was doing back then in today's era of UFC, down there with the featherweights or lightweights in that range, whoo, man, that's going to be interesting. Because he didn't believe in sparring or fighting those guys. It was always somebody bigger. See what he could do. Okay, Lou Alcindor can tell you that. Hot topic. And it's been that way for a minute. That's like another one with like this whole like LeBron versus Jordan bullshit. And I did like a video or two about that. I didn't do it justice. I need to jump in and help these guys out. But true fight fan here, been following it for a minute. Back since I was like, well, 40 years. I was 8 when I first started reading that stuff. And I get how it sounds. I'm an older cat, right? And you're out of touch and grumpy. Yeah, I know. But can you defeat like what I'm saying here anywhere? Or am I just that? Because if I'm just that, I'm not interested in arguing with you, dude. I'll move on to somebody else. So it is what it is. Bruce Lee, okay? The GOAT fighter. At least for his weight and size. Conor McGregor will tell you that too. I'm not sure how much credibility he has left anymore, but when he talks about the guy, I sure like what he has to say. Me being biased and all. So, I don't know. Light me up in the comment section. This is a topic where it's incendiary. And it should be. I'm not going to let a legend like that be tainted. They all die and die off. There's nothing we can do about it. But to be tainted and slandered, that's why you leave your bulk of work back to speak for itself, and I'm just not seeing it adding up to you hating motherfuckers and the bullshit you got to say about that cat. All right, I'm done talking about Bruce Lee today. But that is what it is. Bruce Lee, the GOAT. Fuck you if you say otherwise with bullshit. Bring some arguments to the table. Counter the shit I said, you know, and what do you think about that scene between Bruce Lee and Brad Pitt? I thought it sucked overall, even if I hated Lee. Not one of your better moments, Tarantino. Quentin, my man. Anyways, I'm gonna shut this off, but not before we get another panoramic view here of this beautiful evening-ish day here, down at the wetlands, down here at State in Oregon. Nice little tucked away chill spot here. All right, it's your boy Scott, slapping as usual. Later.